This is FightFans Radio.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Untethered MMA on FightFans Radio. I am your host, Mike Fagan. That voice you heard was Matt Roth. If you want to call into the show and talk to Matt or myself or Derek Suboticki, you can call in at 410-988-6525. You can also reach us on Twitter. You can reach me at It's Mike Fagan, Derek at FightLinkerSubo, and Mr. Roth at Matt Roth 512. We also have on the Fight Fans Radio page a live chat that you can reach us at as well. Boys, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Derek, how you doing?
I feel typecast, but I'm here. What's going on, everybody?
Well, you're a character, Derek, and we all know how you lean.
Most characters get paid for what they do. Like if you're an impersonator or if you're a shill, that implies that you're doing it for money. I'm just a guy.
You're just a sucker.
I'm a mark. I'm a smark.
Matt, you were telling us a story before we came on the air that I think.
My funny story about how I played a practical joke on my best friend, and now he. Yeah. So let me tell the story. So my best friend is ex-Special Forces. And he's been hanging out with, intimately, a girl. And every single week, he and myself and our other guy friends, we go out to steak night. I decided to invite his lady friend out this week and tell everybody, hey, you have to wear ties because we're doing steak night, and you better, we have to start doing it right. You have to start dressing up. Ties, collared, button-down shirts, the whole shebang. I show up 30 minutes early and speak to the manager, and I give her a fake ring that I bought for $8.99 at Walmart. And I tell her that my buddy is coming here with his girlfriend, and he's gonna he's gonna ask her, I want it to be a fake engagement. And the manager's completely on board with it. She's laughing. The kitchen staff thinks it's hilarious, and it goes off without a hitch. The entire dinner, they are fighting, the entire time, and being really mean fighting, crossing the line, and so it couldn't have worked out better for my hilarious practical joke. Then the dessert comes, and the ring is on the dessert plate with it saying, "Will you marry me?" and her name. And my buddy just starts yelling no. She's smiling ear to ear. And I take a photo of them and I post it on our Facebook pages where we have 65 friends are all part of this Facebook group, and say, hey, you should start texting them for their beautiful engagement. And immediately their phones start blowing up. I made a mistake because I chose ex-Special Forces guy to fuck with as opposed to Derek Suboticki or Mike Fagan, who, while they are creative, they lack the guns and the crazy ass to actually do anything physically to me. So I made that mistake, but that's how I ruined my best friend's, I guess, booty call-ness.
Yeah. So is there any sort of fallout? Are they still together?
They're apparently irreparable.
Well, I guess that's good. I guess there's a happy ending.
Nah, if they were brawling all night, then that was the cherry on top, and I'm pretty sure that he just called it at that point.
Yeah, I'm not a good person. Like, I actually told it to head writer extraordinaire, Brent Ducharme, aka the Dutch Baby, and he called me a sociopath.
I think it's a pretty fair practical joke.
I can't disagree though, man. And like, I was hoping that this is going to start a prank war. I think instead of a prank war, it's just going to be like, "Hey, cool, I'm going to shoot you in the chest."
We got a chat in the show chat. Slow clap for Matt Roth. What a great guy.
Thank you very much.
So, big news this week. We'll get to UFC 153 in a moment, but the biggest news this week on Tuesday, the UFC announced that Jon Jones will defend his title against Chael Sonnen in April, and he will coach The Ultimate Fighter, the new season, which I believe starts taping in a couple weeks, and which will be airing in January. We'll be coaching the show together. It's a pretty polarizing decision. Derek, since we sort of teased this whole episode with you, what's your thoughts on the whole shebang?
You guys have known me, those of you who actually do know me, as somebody who puts the legitimacy of the sport on a pedestal and wants people to earn title shots by fighting and winning fights in that weight class and beating top 10 guys and working their way up the ladder. But there are exceptions to that rule. And one of the... And one of them was Brock Lesnar.
Of course there are exceptions.
There are exceptions to almost every rule because this is a synthesis between sports and entertainment. If they just did the fights that made sense rankings-wise, their pay-per-view numbers wouldn't be probably 70% of what they actually are because of the matches that the fans care about things that are beyond divisional relevance. They care about things like fucking television presence and interview style and they have a genuine connection with Chael Sonnen that's been borne out by his last few fights ever since the first Anderson fight, which really put him over. And my feeling on this is that with the way the division is lined up right now, between Henderson versus Machida and Gustafsson versus Shogun, those fights are going to happen anyway. And during the meantime, there isn't really anyone for Jon Jones to fight. So he can fight Sonnen while the division kind of settles itself out. The big objection out there seems to be to think that Dan Henderson is getting screwed. And I don't have an ounce of sympathy for Dan Henderson. Don't hide injuries and then expect to get a title fight your first fight back.
Well,
I can't believe how wrong you are, man.
Well, I just want to pose this question to Derek because one of the things I jumped on the conference call or the feed from the conference call about halfway into it, but Dana explained that, or I gathered that they were targeting February for the Super Bowl show for Jones and Henderson, and for whatever reason, Dana couldn't get a hold of Dan or something along those lines. He even said something along the lines of, "I don't know if Dan would even do the show," but if that's true, if they were going to book Henderson and Jones for February, why not just do that for April? That's kind of
no. You're just one little bit of correction. Jones isn't actually going to be ready until April. That's why it got why they're doing the April show.
Right. That's right. But
not Henderson. It was Jones. But that's the only point of.
In any case, I mean, that makes it even that much worse. I mean, if it just hinged on Jones not being ready, I mean, why not just delay Henderson and Jones for 2 months? That's the part.
I think they're punishing Henderson. I think that it's a message that if you get injured 3 weeks before the fight, you better not try to train through it and then let us know a week before the fight that you can't go through. And if you do that, then you're not going to be rewarded with your next opportunity. You're going to have to win a fight before you get that title shot again. And the same thing with Machida. It would have made sense for Jones versus Machida in February or April as well, but Machida turned down a title shot. So what you see in this matchup is really a kind of a double punishment for those two things. And what I love about the MMA blogosphere and the Twittersphere is the day before this announcement, every other tweet is tough as stale. They need to do something to kick it up a notch. They need to get people interested. It's going to die. It's doing shit numbers. And then the next fucking day, they do it. And there really is no other infusion of personality and talent that you could imagine for the Ultimate Fighter that would supersede this. I mean, you could do Velasquez versus Dos Santos, but personality-wise and rivalry-wise, it's not going to be an interesting season. This was the best option for the show, and yet everyone takes a shit on it. They're damned if they do and damned if they don't in a lot of different situations. It's not a universally bad move. I object to it in the fact that Chael Sonnen's last light heavyweight win was Jason Lambert. But at the same time, there's nobody else in line right now. Henderson and Machida made their own beds, and I don't feel bad for them.
Matt, you said that Derek was utterly and completely wrong, so I want to hear your counterpoint here.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Look, I recognize that the UFC, that they're a pay-per-view business. I recognize that, and I also recognize the fact that the ratings for Tough are at an all-time low. They're abysmal at this point. Like, what was it? They didn't even crack the top 100.
Yeah, that was the first time ever the show had not cracked the top 100. I believe the last show did something in the neighborhood of like 620 or 650,000.
Like 625, I believe, was the number I saw from MMA Supremacy on Twitter. Like, look, you know what? I get it. The Friday is a really, really shitty night for TV. I've gone over this countless times on the show. I'm going to say it again. I'm out looking to get laid, and I'm your demographic that you're trying to sell this to. I'm actually even more. I'm supposed to be your demo because I work in MMA. I work in the industry, but I'm out, as a 27-year-old male who likes to go out to bars and drink. I am your demo, and I'm not going to be out on a Friday night. I'm not going to be inside on a Friday night if I can be out. So I recognize that as well. But the other issue is that the UFC doesn't have. They're not picking quality talent. There's far better people on the regional level that they could be booking for this show. A lot of it is that managers don't want to commit their talent to 13 weeks and a potential that they're not actually going to make it into UFC. So I understand that as well. But this is a short term plan. FX they seem to think that it's going to get epic ratings no matter what. Mike, do you watch the FX shows like Justified and like Sons of Anarchy and things like that?
I watch Louis. I watch Wilfred, and
do you think of Wilfred, like somebody who likes Wilfred? Do you believe that they're going to be like, oh, cool, The Ultimate Fighter? I really want to see that show. I really want to see that. Like, no, nobody's going to do that if you are tuning into FX to watch Wilfred. Which I love Wilfred. It's an incredibly funny show. The UFC and The Ultimate Fighter isn't going to be the show to lead in. So I don't really know what the fuck's going on. I think that if they want to be treated like a sport, if they want to be covered by Fox and Sports Illustrated, ESPN, and the LA Times and like these big boy publications, they need to start presenting their product like a big boy sport, and they're obviously not doing that. They'd rather go into this spectacle. If that's the case, then don't don't try and appeal to the major market newspapers, the major market media. Let it be the people that are just fun and having fun, watching MMA and writing their opinion.
It's nice that you guys have the opposite viewpoints of each other, because I'm really in the middle where I don't, on one hand, I see the argument of Sonnen hasn't deserved anything. This is kind of a farce in terms of matchmaking. It's kind of a waste of 6 months to 8 months of John Jones' career, having fought Belfort and Sonnen back to back.
It's a complete farce. That's the other. Yeah. And that's the other thing. And Mike, at what point did he jump on the call? Because even like the FX guy, like the FX executive, he was basically saying that the only reason why they did it is because the ratings are abysmal and they feel that Jones and Chael Sonnen are like the two people to maybe save this show. The way you save The Ultimate Fighter, it's not a short term plan with Chael Sonnen and John Jones. It didn't work with Junior Dos Santos and Brock Lesnar. That didn't work. What makes you think it's going to be a long-term solution, long-term fix? If you want to fix The Ultimate Fighter, it's going to go beyond the coaches. It needs to be the actual. It needs to be the actual contestants. It needs to be the actual show format.
Well, I've always felt like, real quick, Mike, that it's not broken. It's just kind of burned out its string, and it's been a victim of its own success. It is a show that takes fighters that you've never heard of and attempts to give them a name while trying to build up a fight between the coaches, and it's always been that way. It serves the reality TV audience, which isn't me and isn't most MMA fans, but they do exist. So, it's nice to have something for them to bring them into the fold. Just there are people who are just reality TV fans who have that avenue to get into the sport. And when they're picking fighters that you've never heard of, and like Roth was saying, these guys on the regional shows, it's not that the UFC isn't recruiting them. They'll take anybody that applies. It's just these guys aren't applying because they're doing well enough now that they don't need to roll the dice on the tough contract when they're doing well enough working up the ranks by themselves. So when the fighters that you've never heard of are less desperate than they were in 2005, then the show's going to suffer, and there's not a hell of a lot you can do about that short of putting active fighters on the roster on the show, and I think that defeats the purpose.
No, but you're also incorrect as well, man. Like the fighters that are showing up for the for the tryouts and the auditions, there's always notable fighters where you go like, wait, that guy's an ex-UFC fighter, that guy's an ex-Strikeforce fighter, that dude is really well received on the regional level, and a lot of the time, at least with Spike. Spike had a huge say. I don't want to say final say, but they had a huge say in who would be chosen for the show. And so a lot of the times you got the monster lobsters and the Junie Brownings, when the reality is there's far better guys and far more capable guys to be cast on the show. And I get that the fact that it's a reality show and that you need to have you need to have fun television and compelling television, but by sacrificing a level of talent that actually deserves to be in the UFC, you're completely they're shooting themselves in the foot, and they're actually the reason why the show's ratings are so shitty. Think about this. Real question. Since Tough 5, Season 5, name 5 successful fighters in the UFC. 5. I'm waiting.
I'll let Derek answer.
Oh, what? So, wait a minute. Since Tough 5, name 5 successful fighters in the UFC?
Tough Season 5, name 5 successful fighters in the UFC that maybe not including Tough 5. So, Season 6 on. Name, let's say 5 fighters that may break into the top 15 of any division.
I'd say Nelson and Schaub are already there. I'd say that Bader is there. I think that
Roy Nelson
say what?
Not including Roy Nelson, who came in and he probably should have been in the UFC anyway.
Oh no, but that's an example of a guy who wasn't, and that was the story with Tough before. He's just an anomaly because they finally did it at heavyweight, and Roy came in. So you've got Roy, I'm counting him. You've got Schaub, you've got Bader, Vinny Magalesh. I think he could definitely be top 15. And then one of the guys from one of the guys from the Little People season too. There you go.
Like, I gave you 10 seasons.
You asked me for 5 people.
I gave you 10 seasons.
I'm sure I could give you 10 people up to 10 seasons.
I gave you 10 seasons, and the guy that and the first to mind is Roy Nelson, who is an IFL champion. The second guy that came to mind is Brennan Schaub, who is he a fighter in the UFC? Ryan Bader, I'll give you that one, no problem. But he won the show. John Dodson and you just said Vinny Magalesh. He just got back to the UFC. So you
asked for guys that you're the one that fucking asked the question, and you framed it as guys that could potentially break into the top 15. There's more of them out there that could do that, but those were 5 that came to my mind instantly.
Yeah, but my point is,
you have no point.
My point is made, man. Their talent level is so shitty that you can't actually give me.
So what do you do? What do you do about? Do you just not have the show because the fighters aren't good enough that want to accept that contract? What do you do?
What I think you do is you go ahead and you take a look at the actual level of talent that is coming out and auditioning for the show. You have to take a look at that. You can't say, oh, well, this guy was a highly sought after regional level guy. He showed up to the tryouts, but we're going to sign him directly to the UFC. They can't do that, and they've been doing that. That's a huge issue, man.
So you want these up-and-coming fighters from the regional levels to suffer more so that the show can enjoy more of the thing. You want it to be like back in the olden days where the UFC would say either we don't have the roster spots or we don't have the money or everyone that we have right now is better than you, so you need to go through the Ultimate Fighter. You want to see that return.
I'm saying that you can't have it both ways.
Well, and I'll agree with that, but in that case, I'd rather have the show suffer than the product of the UFC suffer. So if you can't have it both ways, I'd rather them do what they're doing than prop up the show by sacrificing the actual product.
But then that brings in a whole different debate, which is, what do you think the point of the Ultimate Fighter is at this point?
To fucking placate an audience that does not represent most MMA fans, to have that reality show and maybe get lucky every once in a while. It's not like they're losing money on the goddamn thing. I don't know if the naming of these coaches was to placate FX or what role Fox had in it, or if there was any incentivization there, but they got to be happy with it, and maybe they'll be pushing the show more and more, willing to put cards on, things of that nature, primetime specials, stuff like that in the coming years of this deal, but they got to be thrilled with it.
This was to completely placate FX, man. Like, it's the same thing as the upcoming Fox card. You don't think you really think that they want to put a title fight on Fox at a pay-per-view where, hey, they're getting maybe $350 or 350 buys for Ben Henderson?
Well, the last Ben Henderson fight did about $250, so we don't know if that's even a seal. That's the thing with these Fox cards now, is they can say we have a title fight that's not going to do dog shit on pay-per-view. Let's put it on TV, and if something cool happens, then a few million people saw it instead of a few 100,000.
I'm just saying that a lot of what they're doing now, at least on Fox and the Ultimate Fighter, a lot of it is because they the ratings have been abysmal.
I just want to interject here, gentlemen. I think one of the interesting questions here is, and I can speak for myself, I don't think I've watched the show regularly. The last season I remember distinctly watching was the heavyweight season with Kimbo, and
Same
I believe I kind of watched the next two seasons. I don't remember which. Were there two seasons where Bisping hosted or coached? Because he did the Mayhem one. Was there one before that he coached?
Yeah, Henderson.
Yeah, okay, I watched that. Yeah, so I watched that one as well. That was anyway. Regardless, the question I want to ask though is are either of you going to watch the show with Jones and Sonnen coaching?
Yes,
Probably not.
Probably not.
Nope.
Out of principle, or out of you're not interested in seeing the show?
Out of fucking beer night at the taco stand, dude. This Roth has better things to do with his time.
Not even that, man. It's the fact that I think that the show is stale, and I think that how many weeks can you really watch the Chael Sonnen shtick? Really?
Oh, people are going to be eating it up, man. That's the thing. I mean, it's just like, how many weeks can you watch Kimbo Slice and not get tired of it? And yet that season did better ratings than ever before. This one will come close to that. If not breaking it, it'll probably be second all time.
Ooh, I don't know about that, Derek.
No,
Derek,
the people are going to tune in to see. They're going to have commercials with him. He's good with that. People know him from Fuel doing the announcer thing now. This show is going to do decent ratings.
Derek, what they said yesterday on the call, the FX executive, I can't remember his name, and that's my mistake. What he said is he expects epic ratings. Epic ratings. Just to give you an idea, Sons of Anarchy every single week draws about 7 million viewers.
Look, he didn't say epic. He said FX. It was just the audio quality. He expects FX ratings.
No. He said epic ratings.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they're obviously, like I said, they're going to be thrilled with it. They probably have a plan for pushing it. He was on fucking It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, so he's already been seen by a few million more people than most UFC fighters have ever been seen by on basic cable. It's going to be a good thing, guys. Don't worry about it.
Like I said, I'm pretty much indifferent to it. I understand why they did it and what they're
but you're going to tune in versus a guy.
Maybe. I can't say for certain I'll tune in. I haven't.
You'll watch the first episode. You'll watch the first episode to see if it's worth it. To see if there are any fighters you care about. That's how it always works. Plus, the first episode is like wall-to-wall fights.
It depends on what night of the week it's on. If it's on like a Wednesday, I'm doing jiu-jitsu on Wednesdays, and I'm not going to DVR it.
Nobody ever lost money betting against the social lives of MMA fans. So
I'm not saying you're wrong. I imagine with the coaches and with the day change that they're going to do better ratings than they have.
Oh, obviously.
But yeah, I don't think that's really up for debate. I mean, when you look at the ratings that they're doing for this season, I mean, this is I mean, they can't do much worse than this. I don't think.
No, okay. So, and here's the other thing, Mike. You're a fan of Louis, the show Louis. Maybe they'll do the similar ratings to Louis.
Yeah. What does Louis pull in?
Louis does the lowest ratings on FX. The season 3, premiere did 1.43 million viewers.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay,
meanwhile, Sons of Anarchy is doing 4 times that much.
And if they're talking about putting it on a Tuesday with Justified, I'm actually on their page now too. Justified does their season premieres do 3.07 million. The UFC's never touched that, man. Like the UFC's season premieres, the first season on FX did 4.16. For Justified. The UFC's not coming close to that. If they expect epic numbers for the Ultimate Fighter, maybe cap off at 2.2 million. Maybe. And that's if like Chael Sonnen and John Jones and the talent level are all running on like full cylinders. And
what was the average for the Kimbo season?
For the Kimbo season? Give me 1 second, I'll pull that up.
I remember the Kimbo season also had a coach dynamic that a lot of people enjoyed. You may have found it corny. A lot of people thought it was played out, but there were a ton of fans out there that loved the back and forth between Rampage and Rashad.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've kind of been wondering about. I mean, how much of those numbers for that season can you chalk up to just Kimbo, and how much of it can you chalk up to Rampage and Rashad? I mean, obviously there's got to be some sort of mix and ratio there, but it. So
the Ultimate Fighter Season 10, it went from the premiere episode did 4.1 million viewers. The highest rated show of the season was episode 3, where it was
Kimbo fought, right?
I believe so. It was 5.3 million viewers, and then after that, the show's rating slowly declined. And at the end of the season, episode 10 did 2.4, and episode 11 and 12 did 2.6 million. The following season, though, which was the Liddell Tito Ortiz, those ratings were abysmal as well. So, you understand what I'm saying, dude? Like, it's not. People, if you're thinking that it's like a change of day or these two, it's not like Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz were still household names, man. You know, like it's there's. I don't know. I'll reserve until the.
Well, damn it! I mean, I just don't hear a prescription for what they should do with the show. I don't know what they should do that's different. I mean, they're putting their two of their biggest and most controversial names at the top of it, and what else can they do?
Well, I mean, shit. Do you think that it's actually still a viable product?
Viable as in it doesn't lose money, yeah, because they don't do things that lose money very often. And viable as in services a segment of the fan marketplace that isn't serviced by anything else, yeah, that too.
It doesn't lose the UFC money. But you know damn sure that it's losing FX money putting this where it is. Fucking FX House the Movies does better than fucking Fighter.
That's not actually a TV show. FX Has the Movies. That's not like a series that they run, Matt.
Okay, sorry. A commercial-filled version of Avatar is doing better ratings than The Ultimate Fighter.
Can I ask you a question? Do either of you guys, or combined, do you guys have $10,000 that I can borrow?
Why?
Because I got Pat Miletich to agree to come on the episode after the election, but he also wants to bet me $10,000 that Romney will win.
Did you just out the special guest that you've been hiding for weeks?
Dude, I need the 10K.
Dude,
You made such a big deal about making this a surprise guest, and then you just nonchalantly throw it out there.
Well, yeah, but because then it looked like it wasn't going to happen because the Strike Force show got canceled. That was the only time he could do it.
So, but here's a question, Derek. Are you really? You don't feel that comfortable?
Oh my God, no, dude! I don't have $10,000.
Get a phone. Take out a loan.
I have many loans in my name. They will not let me have more.
I love the idea of Derek taking out a loan for $10,000 and just completely destroying his life.
Dude, yeah, because Obama's going to lose this election, right?
I'm not saying he's going to lose, but I just would love the idea. I just love the idea that you take the money out and he does lose somehow, and then you get fully fucked.
It would be the funniest thing.
He's offered me 1-to-1 on a 65% bet at worst. So in any point in life, you take that bet.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I agree. You know,
Then,
right there with you.
Then you can ask the bank of mom and dad.
Yeah, that bitch is closed.
Oh, Derek, smoking weed on the podcast again. I got a question for you guys, and before we get to 153, I've mentioned this in our show chat on Skype. Are either of you hearing what I'm hearing? What sounds like someone's chewing on something?
Nope.
Derek,
it was there earlier, but it has been for the last 5 or 10 minutes or so.
Okay, but you did hear it.
Yeah,
and it wasn't Roth either, because it was while Roth was talking. So unless Roth has some sort of crazy skill where he can eat and talk fluently at the same time.
If anybody has it, it's probably that big bastard. As Dr. Johnny Benjamin, you got to cut down on the carbs.
Cut down on the potato chips.
And they had a guy on Fox News pretty much doing the Dr. Johnny Benjamin thing. It was a psychiatrist diagnosing Joe Biden as a drunk when he says he doesn't drink because there are too many alcoholics in his family already, when he's never met Joe Biden. So doctors diagnosing people based on videotape, a grand tradition in the media.
Yes, that's true. 153 was this past weekend. I missed it live. I was out of town, but I did catch the main card. So I can't really comment on the prelims, but the main card was pretty fucking fantastic.
Wait, which one are we talking about now?
The Anderson Silva show that we just had.
Oh, that was awesome.
It was awesome. Derek, I thought you would just rush right in and just start spewing your love for this show.
I'm sorry, which show is this? Roth broke up a little bit.
UFC 153 that we just...
Oh, that's, it could be fun. I mean, the product's stale, and it's a fad in the U.S., so it's all going to die anyway. But, yeah, it could be entertaining.
What the fuck are you talking about? We're talking about UFC 153.
I enjoyed it very much. But we talked about it, I personally fucking like the night of. So what was your guys' favorite thing in there? I don't want to start this conversation off right now.
Honestly,
thing. It's hard to pick.
Honestly, I think my favorite thing might be, and this is I think might come off a little weird, but I really enjoyed Fitch escaping the rear naked choke. I thought that was just a really great display of someone under a lot of pressure, just calmly and collectively, a textbook way to get out of the rear naked choke. Pulled off the top hand, pulled off the hand on his neck, and then spun back into guard. As many impressive and awesome things there were on this show, that was the one thing that really stuck with me.
You're a jiu-jitsu guy. That's because we've done it in practice, and you're just like, oh, the ball's on that guy. That's amazing. Normally when that happens to us, we tap.
Yeah, all right, whatever, Derek.
No, I'm saying, that's something. The great thing about this card, the thing is, I did a podcast about this with Ryan from Fight Linker Sunday night, and he didn't fucking record it right. So I've already talked about this show a bunch. It's just there's no record of it whatsoever. So I feel like I'm repeating myself, even though I'm not. What was great about this card is that
you let everyone of us know that, because we all really give a shit.
Hey, a lot of people were mad at Fight Linker about not having the podcast. We did one, guys. We're not that lazy. It's just, shit happens. But we talk about what our favorite kinds of cards are, and what Ryan and I agree on, and maybe you guys can weigh in on this too, is we don't want a card that's all first and second round finishes or all crazy shit or all wars. You want to have a smorgasbord. You want to have a little bit of everything. Some good knockouts, good submissions, some wars, and then, some kind of big name at the top. And this card met all of that criteria, so you could pick and choose from whatever you wanted. What do you guys think about that?
I think that Anderson Silva is now just starting to handicap himself. Like he's so bored fighting who the UFC is booking, putting him against. He's just handicapping himself. He doesn't care anymore, man. He'll put his back against the cage the entire time, the entire fight, and you won't connect ever. You won't connect on any punch ever when you fight him, because he's so bored fighting everybody that the UFC puts in front of him. Who do they have on roster that Anderson Silva won't be bored fighting?
Well, let me really quickly say that he did say that there was a game plan to the back against the cage thing. He wasn't just that he was doing it to punk him. He said, I knew he was going to try to take me down. If somebody's trying to take you down and they're driving you backwards into something, you have an extra support. It makes them more tired. So that was part of the plan, to keep my back against the cage to make it harder for him to take me down. So it wasn't just...
You believe that, Derek?
I do. I don't think that... I don't think he's making shit... I think that if he said, yeah, I just wanted to show off, he would have said that.
You think that Anderson's going to back himself in the cage because he doesn't want to get taken down by Stephan Bonnar, but he wouldn't do that against Chael Sonnen in all 7 rounds that they fought.
Against Chael Sonnen, he was trying to knock him down before the takedown came, because Chael's probably going to take you down whether your back is against the cage or not.
I love how full of shit you are, man.
It's amazing.
This is the way I think. I don't fucking just make this shit up. There are things that I think that lead to the things that I think. It's not just that I picked them out of the air for some reason.
Man, you're so full of shit.
Like, I was explaining the term wrestle boxer to someone the other day, and he asked me why BJ Penn wasn't a wrestle boxer, and I explained it to him, and he understood.
You're so full of shit.
I loved, and I tweeted, I was reading the results on Twitter, and, when Silva finished it, not everyone, but there was a large segment of my timeline was devoted to, oh my God, Anderson Silva was the greatest of all time. And I kind of made a snarky remark about, oh, I'm glad everyone's redeclaring Silva the greatest of all time after beating Stephan Bonnar. What were people expecting coming out of this fight? I mean, Anderson was a minus 1,000 favorite. The only people that thought Bonnar had any sort of chance were people like Brent Brookhouse, who really just want that stuff to happen, just want to see that chaos. It
would have been hysterical, okay? You can
no,
without picking it.
I thought that Bonnar had a shot.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
No,
go fuck yourself.
Listen for what I mean for a second. So, I mean, compared to Forrest, I think Bonnar moves better. Would you agree that he moves better, less awkwardly on the feet?
Marginally better.
Okay, so he moves better than Forrest. I think that his punches come at better angles, where they're not coming from like super loopy punches. I didn't think that he was going to beat Anderson Silva, but I thought that Bonnar at least stood as good of a chance as Forrest Griffin when that Forrest Griffin fight was booked. Not obviously the result of the Forrest Griffin fight, but when it was booked, I had the same feeling that, oh yeah, Bonnar has a shot.
No.
It wasn't a good shot.
No. There's no. I mean, when you extrapolate with the betting odds, Bonnar would need to win. I think it's something like 1 or 2% of the time to break even on your bet, and that pretty much boils down to Anderson tearing his ACL in the cage.
Wouldn't it be more like 10% if it's minus 1,000? Wouldn't he need to win 1 out of 10?
No, that's not how it works.
Well, if someone's an 8-1 dog, then don't they need to win 1 out of 8 times? Because otherwise, you're betting more than $800 to win $800.
Oh shit! And Pat Miletich hitting you with a shot right now. Barn might blow it. Sounds like someone we know. Yeah, boom, Obama.
Why are you not including his LOL? Because Pat Miletich totally wrote LOL at the end of that.
He did totally right. That's Pat Miletich writing LOL, which is also funny, which is also hilarious.
I was just going to leave that without commentary, but then you censored it for him, and I was like, why are you doing that?
It is a pretty good shot back at you.
Yeah, because Obama's the first president to
No,
borrow money.
I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I mean, just given the perceptions of what Obama is, I mean, it's just funny.
Oh, it's hilarious.
That's why he's going to be good on the show on November 8th when Obama is celebrating his reelection.
So there's 2 other things from 153 that I wanted to touch on, and they're kind of things that I touched on last week, Derek.
We're going to hold the Senate, too, but go ahead.
The first being Fitch and Silva. Again, I'm really confused why Fitch came into that fight as an underdog. Eric Silva was obviously a talented fighter, but hadn't fought anyone close to John Fitch's level. And, I still just don't understand what was going on there. And the other thing, I thought Demian Maia looked fucking fantastic at 170. I was a little surprised again at that fight that the betting odds are so close, but I don't know how far Maia can go up that welterweight ladder, but he did. He did enough to convince me that he's going to at least be competitive with a lot of guys there.
Yeah, I mean, like Maia, like book him against Thiago Alves. See how he does against a strong wrestler, like a strong kickboxer who's super strong anyway, and see if he can get past Alves. If he can, then shit, man, do it.
And the other nice thing to see was that he had that urgency to take the fight to the ground and work for submissions. We hadn't seen that from him in a couple of fights, and again, I think it's a great second fight or third fight technically at 170 is a guy like Thiago Alves.
The one thing which I was impressed with John Fitch. I'm still not taking anything away from Eric Silva though. That was obviously a huge jump up in competition from Charlie Brenneman and Carlo Prater, and that's not a knock against Charlie Brenneman and Carlo Prater. They're just not John Fitch. They're just not in the same league as John Fitch.
It's a subtle difference.
There's a huge difference, man. Like there's a huge difference in talent level. The one thing that I think is at least you can walk away from that and feel good about Eric Silva's performance. He was able to get out from underneath John Fitch. Like, when was the last time we saw that? Really? Like, that was the huge knock against John Fitch is that, one, he's just going to hold you down, and when he does hold you down, he's not going to do shit to you. Eric Silva was able to get out from underneath John Fitch. I think that's at least creates some optimism going forward.
Derek and I both noticing at the same time that the chip chomping is back.
It's really weird. I have no idea what's going on. I'm not up here. Yeah, I don't understand it. But everyone's named their kind of favorite moment now. Mine was the Phil Davis submission on Wagner Prado because I pretty much yelled that it was going to happen across the bar as soon as the first one didn't work and he spun to it and thread his arm underneath his neck. You're going to go for that? And he rolled him over. And I love being right. So that rarely happens. And I called that one and it made me happy.
That was a crazy-ass Anaconda choke, man.
It was beautiful. I called it a Darce there because I'm stupid. He rolled him the other way and he had it the other way. But it was the same basic deal.
He had a gator roll. He had a gator roll in it. There was nothing even close to a Darce.
I called it a Darce before the gator roll. He threaded the arm under. I forgot that you have to have the arm on the side you're threading for it to be a Darce versus it on the other side where you roll and then you have the Anaconda. So I fucked up there. But I still knew what was going on, kind of.
Idiot.
The last thing before we move on, Glover Teixeira obviously destroyed Fabio Maldonado.
Didn't like the stoppage.
Apparently. But people are already talking about Glover fighting John Jones next. And I don't really understand it. Glover's got 2 fights in the UFC. His opponents, not counting the fights they had with Glover, his 2 opponents are 2-2, or not 2-2. They're 5-5 in the UFC. I don't feel like it's unfair to suggest that Glover fight someone in the top 10 at least before he fights John Jones.
I was having this conversation with a friend of mine who is a professional fighter, and he was basing his belief that Teixeira is actually going to be the guy that beat Jones on A, his fearlessness, and B, the well-roundedness of his game, that he has the jiu-jitsu in addition to that striking, and he's willing to wade inside and throw. So there are people that are basing that on Teixeira's capabilities and how he looks as a fighter. But we went through his record. His best win is probably Rico Rodriguez.
Yeah, that was the other thing, too. If you go back through his fight record through his career.
And he's been smashing guys, but they've just been guys. I mean, after that, it's like Marvin Eastman.
Antonio Mendez, Pedapano, and Sokaju.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not it's not the fucking resume to end all resumes. So the Rampage fight is perfect. It's an aging name that he can use to put himself over. And then after that, he can fight the loser of one of these big fights they got coming up, either Machida Henderson or Shogun versus Gustafsson. He can fight one of those guys, and if he wins that, then he's top 5. Then you can give him a title shot with no argument.
I like that you say the aging name when Rampage is 34 and Glover Teixeira is 32.
Well, isn't Fedor also 34 and fucking retired because MMA mileage is a little bit different than just your actual age?
I'm just saying that. Look, Glover Teixeira, that fight, it was impressive. Blah blah blah. The fact that he's beating up on guys like Maldonado and Kingsbury. I actually left that fight and I said there was no fucking way this guy is going to beat John Jones. Like I had the complete opposite. Like I went in thinking like, oh yeah, totally. Like he hits really hard and he's one of the best grapplers in the world. And I left that fight going, no fucking way does this guy ever challenge John Jones.
Well, it's one of those things that there's an old theory, or not an old theory, but there's a recent kind of sabermetrically idea in it really started in pro football, but it's kind of spread. The idea that if you beat bad teams convincingly, it's a good sign that you're a good team. So to me, it's a good sign that Glover Teixeira is probably a pretty good fighter. Probably top 20 easily. Probably maybe top 10. Maybe he can compete with some of the top guys. That said, I haven't seen anything from him that suggests that he can beat John Jones or even remain that competitive with him.
The crazy thing about Glover Teixeira is that his record and his wins are just as underwhelming as Thiago Silva's.
Let me pull up his little profile here.
Thiago Silva's best win, Keith Jardine.
Is it really?
Probably because the verified doesn't count.
Keith Jardine. Then Antonio Mendez, Houston Alexander, Thomas Draval, James Irvin, and Tetsuya Mizuno, who is the only Dream Light... Oh, sorry, he was the runner-up for the Dream Light Heavyweight Tournament.
He's the best Japanese light heavyweight ever.
Right.
Ever.
This is actually a pretty good comparable, I think. I think Glover, this might be, I don't want to say his ceiling, but this might be...
Right, but Thiago Silva lasted 3 rounds with Rashad and looked better than him in the 3rd round, and then beat the piss out of Vera, and then had the drug test. But either way, those 2 things are more impressive than Glover Teixeira has done in his career.
I would say that his getting knocked out unconscious by Lyoto Machida was more impressive than what Glover Teixeira has done. I'm not being an asshole about it, man. Look, I'd rather see losses against high level competition, and he's lost to the only people that Thiago Silva's lost to are super high level, like Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, Alex Gustafsson. Those are the only guys he's ever lost to, and those are legit guys. Glover Teixeira, his best, and I'm saying this again, his best win is arguably Rico Rodriguez. And then there's such a dip. After that, it's Rico Rodriguez, and then it falls to I'm looking at Pedapano. Pedapano is his second best win. It's so fucking pathetic, man.
I should note though, Matt, that Thiago Silva does have a loss to an opponent that's not elite. It's the commission drug test.
Right, but
dude, that is an elite opponent, undefeated, and has felt many champions before. Nobody beats the fucking commission.
I actually really like this comparison a lot. I think there's a lot to it.
Yeah, well done, Matt.
You're welcome. Sometimes that's why I get paid the big bucks.
Don't ruin it by talking more. Is basically what we're saying.
Got it. Let's talk about something else then. Let's talk about Ariane Celeste's amazing abortion of a song.
I'll be honest with you, Matt. I haven't heard it.
Dude, it's a complete abortion. I actually was told I'm not allowed to write a post called Ariane Celeste continues to ruin music with latest abortion.
Could you write it without latest abortion?
Well, how do you not write that part though?
That is key to the structure of the paragraph, honestly.
Dude, it's that's the key word in the title is abortion. That's the most SEO word.
Shouldn't you put it up front then?
Yeah, abortion.
Ariane Celeste abortion.
Ariane music career.
Latest assault on music industry.
9/11 Justin Bieber.
Osama is dead.
God damn it.
Ariane Celeste and the 10 worst abortions.
Is SBN fucking high-fived with Bleacher Report now? Because I was reading a Bloody Elbow article, I think, in my Google Reader, and the bottom of it was from our sponsors, and it was just 5 Bleacher Report links.
Well, they've had that for a while. I don't know the.
So Bleacher Report sends out a newsletter of the stories of the best stories of the previous day or the best stories of the day. And in it, you'll see posts from Bloody Elbow and MMA Fighting and MMA Mania and MMA Weekly. I believe those are the 4 media partners I see most. There's sometimes like a heavy post in there every so often, but it's it's SB Nation and then MMA Weekly that Bleacher Report does content sharing with, and you can actually see it on Bloody Elbow. There's stuff on Fighting. That basically what I'm saying is that the competition or that where everybody was talking shit about one another, it's not happening anymore.
They do sound delicious, Derek.
What, those potato chips?
Those chips.
I'm saying I might have to go get a bag after the show.
It's been going on for an hour. I mean, whatever chips those are must be the fucking best chips in existence. Let's talk about your favorite potato chips.
Oh shit!
What's your I know what mine is right off the top.
Roth is gonna have the Joycey chips. Joycey chips are the best.
Are there Jew chips, Matt?
Joycey, Joycey, like new Joycey.
No, Jew, Jew.
Jew chips.
Yeah, they're big flat ones. They're all they can eat on Passover or whatever.
Are you saying matzah?
Yeah, those things were awesome.
Those things.
Dude, yeah, there was always a Jewish kid in my school who was a Boy Scout, which was weird. But anyway, he always brought that shit on Passover, and I made him give me some because it was good.
Weird.
Give you a Jewish Boy Scout. They wouldn't let me in because I was an atheist.
I thought it was because you're gay.
Well, that's why they threw my brother out. But I was not allowed in because they asked, what church are you at? I was like, none.
Matt, what's your favorite potato chip?
Favorite potato chip? I love, I'm a big fan of sour cream and onion.
No, I'm talking about brand, too.
Brand Pringles, man.
Yeah, I would kind of lean towards Pringles, too. If you just
what is wrong with you two?
There are kettle-cooked chips that are fucking awesome.
Pringles are fucking crack, man.
I mean, I like Pringles fine, but
I can go through a tube of Pringles in 20 seconds.
Yeah, because if you're hungry and you're stoned, you can just grab 10 or 12 between your fingers and just mack them all at once.
And then you're like, well, that was delicious. I'm gonna have more.
Mm-hmm. That was a mouthful, and when I bit into it, it turned into paper mache, and it just disappeared in my mouth. So I'm gonna get some more.
So I need more delicious potato chips. Are you gonna say these grass-fed, non-organic?
No.
Fuck off.
I have to tell a Mitch Hedberg joke before Mike gives us his. You gotta love Pringles because they're a laid-back company. They were originally going to make tennis balls. And then when the rubber was supposed to get there, they just got a bunch of potatoes and they said, fuck it, cut them up.
Why did you retell that joke?
Rest in peace, Mitch Hedberg. That's why.
All right, best potato chip, Crunchers barbecue flavor.
What? Who the fuck is Crunchers?
Oh, you don't know what Crunchers is?
Man, you're just naming local, non-organic.
I don't think Crunchers is local.
I've never heard of it, man.
I'm gonna do some. You've heard of Crunchers, Derek?
No.
It's Crunchers with a K too.
Oh well, then totally.
Yeah, then I totally heard of them.
It's a Jay's Food.
I don't know what Jay's Food is.
You don't know what? Oh, well, they are Chicago-based.
Oh well, then. Now it all makes sense.
Man, if they're local, then I'm fucking lucky as shit.
Pick a fuck. There are kettle corn chips that are real good. Jimmy John's actually has some really good ones. Just the more unhealthy, the more boiled fat you can put on a piece of potato skin, I'm happy with.
Well, yeah, I mean, Crunchers are kettle corn chips, so they're kettle chips. Yeah, they're delicious.
Dude, all right, Matt, in The Wire in Baltimore, they're always talking about these things called crab chips. What the fuck is a crab chip?
I don't live in Baltimore.
No, but you're fucking all that shit's within 20 miles of each other. It's the East Coast.
You know who you should probably ask? Erica, who happens to live in D.C. and is super close to Baltimore.
You could have just said black. I mean, that would have gotten the point across too. But I will ask her.
Erica.
She doesn't seem to be responding.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, what's up, girl?
What the hell is a crab chip?
They're probably talking about Old Bay potato chips. Is that possibly what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, yeah, they just thought the show is full of slang, and I've gotten some of it. I know some of the fucking Dundalk is a suburb there or whatever, little part of the city.
Dundalk, yep.
But the crab chips, they always talk about getting crab chips. You never actually see the name on the bag or anything. I didn't know if they were chips that were flavored like crab or what.
No,
Well,
it's the Old Bay seasoning that they traditionally put on like the Maryland blue
Oh,
crab
no,
that we
no,
cook.
man. These are by Utz.
Yeah.
So they're by Utz, man. All it is just Old Bay seasoning on them.
You guys send me your addresses, and I'm going to send you some bags of crab chips.
Man,
Shit.
can you just mail me some Old Bay seasoning? Because we can't get that down here. I have to use fucking Cajun spice, and that shit's not even close.
Oh, that's tragic, my friend.
Yeah, you can send it with my check. Put them together in a package.
Where's this money coming from, Derek?
We're nearing the end of the quarter. I signed my contract like last week, so we're in, buddy.
Well, thank you, Erica, for jumping in. So one thing I thought was interesting too, coming out of this conference call yesterday, Alistair Overeem apparently will be getting an immediate title shot when he comes back and after the Velasquez Dos Santos fight. But Nick Diaz will not be getting an immediate title shot of the winner of Condit St. Pierre. Now, the interesting thing about that is, to me, that suggests that there's a real possibility that they want to put the St. Pierre Silva fight on.
Or that Nick Diaz is coming off of a loss at welterweight, and if they still want to be considered the sport, there's no way that you could put a guy who came off a year-long suspension off of a loss in a title fight against potentially the guy that beat him over a year ago.
Or they're just lying and they're going to do it anyway.
They're going to do it anyway, man. They're going to do it anyway.
If St. Pierre wins, he's probably going to call out Nick Diaz in the post fight because he wants that fucking fight. So what are you going to do?
Man, I don't care about that fight anymore. Also,
You don't care about St. Pierre Diaz?
I never cared in the first place because I always thought it was a squash match.
Well, I mean, most guys fighting St. Pierre is a squash match.
Yes, but Diaz especially, like more than most.
I don't know about that.
So how about them Yankees almost getting knocked out of the playoffs?
Yeah, I have this in the background. This ball game is pretty much over here.
Can they
This
lose,
game
please?
is over, man.
Because like the worst part of watching the UFC 153 was having the Yankees come back and beat the Tigers in the background.
The Yankees didn't come back and beat the Tigers.
Yeah,
Oh, they came back and tied it. They came back and tied it and made it like 4 more.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Oh, okay, I got you what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't want the Tigers to fucking win the World Series, though. Fuck that.
Dude,
Yeah,
but
because you're a White Sox fan.
if it means the Yankees don't even get to make it, then that's fine. And besides, why wouldn't you, like, when you lose your division to another team, you should root for that team in a way to do well because then next year you
never.
Go fuck yourself, Derek.
Never.
I root against the teams in my own division, but if, like, the Chargers win the Super Bowl, you know, when pigs fly, then at least I can say my division has a Super Bowl champ in it.
You fucking.
Why would you ever care about that?
Because you get to play them twice next year. You get to put yourself up against them. And you know that if it's a team in your division, then normally there isn't like a huge cleft. Those games are normally competitive.
You're an idiot.
You are.
And they do have statistics for that, Fagan, that divisional games are closer than games outside of the division. Just because the teams know each other better. They've quantified that using statistics.
That's not a fucking. That's I don't give a shit about fucking math, man. Those are your rivals. Like fuck math. Those are your rivals. The second that the Red Sox were out of the playoffs, fuck the Yankees and fuck Baltimore. What are you, an idiot? I'm going to root for the Yankees. No, fuck both those teams.
Wait, you're a Red Sox fan, Matt?
I'm a Red Sox and a Dodgers fan.
Wow, that makes sense.
Yeah, what the fuck, Jersey boy?
My pops was born and raised in Brooklyn, so he was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan.
How many Brooklyn Dodgers fans stuck with LA when they made the move?
A ton.
Yeah, I imagine most.
Most of them? Most of them actually did that?
Oh, yeah, a lot of Cleveland fans stuck with Baltimore when they did that. Baltimore with Indianapolis, too. No fucking way.
No. With Brooklyn, those people still remain loyal Dodger fans. And
Chomp.
And
chips.
and my pops, he raised me to hate the Yankees. I don't like National League play. I think that it's fucking bullshit having pitchers.
What? You think that's
fucking
bullshit?
stupid.
There should be a constitutional amendment against the designated hitter.
No, you're so
So
far off.
incredibly wrong. You're so incredibly wrong. It's amazing.
I want a fat guy that hits 330 on my fucking roster, goddammit.
Why
Don't ever
would
make
you?
me love. It's so much cooler.
I want to watch these automatic outs and these pitchers get up there and bunt.
Yo, let's give them aluminum bats. Fuck it. Make it fun.
No, the designated hitter, it's coming, Derek.
If you hit it over center field, it should be worth 2 runs.
It's coming, Derek. You better get ready. In the next 20 years, there's going to be the designated hitter in the NL.
That's ridiculous.
I have.
They've been holding out forever, and if they do that, then the designated hitter position is just going to fall to shit because it'll be twice as many spots for the same amount of guys.
Yeah, but first of all, the Players Association is going to want it because it gives guys, it gives hitters the chance to continue their careers. And there's just going to be a point. I mean, it's already kind of creeping in where it's kind of a disadvantage for NL teams.
It's always been a disadvantage for NL teams, especially in the World Series when you have to travel to their ballpark and you don't have a guy on your bench that's been raking all year. It's always been that way, but creeping in, it's not like, a couple NL teams have started adopting it. They'd have to the NL would have to admit defeat, and I don't think they're going to be doing that very fucking quickly.
The NL would have to admit defeat.
Yeah, they'd have to say, you were right about this and we were wrong, fuck tradition, let's go ahead and do it your way. That's never going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Sorry.
So how about hockey?
Half isn't good enough.
What do you mean half? Oh.
What do you mean, oh?
Well, I didn't realize what you meant by half.
Half isn't good enough.
50-50.
Is that for the players? Is that like the players actually said 50-50 wasn't good enough?
No, they came back with a counter proposal. I mean, there's more to it than just...
A counter proposal means we don't like the one that you gave us.
That's retarded, man.
Did their counter proposal ask for more than 50-50?
What the hell kind of counter proposal wouldn't? We're cool with the 50-50, but...
Well, it could be we're cool with 50-50, but there's other issues that we disagree on.
Well, I'd love to hear that because I'm pretty sure that they're asking for more than 50. And what Bettman said, Bettman actually has a great quote which makes you have no sympathy for them. He said that in the last collective bargaining agreement, they gave too much to the players and they calculated it wrong, so they want some of the money back.
Well, the thing that bugs you about this is that the owners...
shit you not.
The owners want caps on contracts and stuff, but the owners are the ones that are giving those contracts out. They basically want the Players Association to agree they basically want to police themselves. Like they can't help but spend $100 million in 10 years on guys. Just stop spending the money.
This is a good comment from the chat. Talking about hockey instead of Bellator, that's low.
What the fuck? What am I supposed to talk about Bellator?
Joe,
what am I supposed
about the burning inferno of 1,000 suns that is Rick Hahn? Yes.
Did we talk about Eddie Alvarez at all last week?
Well, nothing's happened with him. Yeah, I believe that we talked about it on Twitter more than anything else. I don't care if they're teammates because Gallard has fought teammates before and he's cool with it. Gallard versus Alvarez is the fight I want to see.
Yeah, I think it's a great fight.
It's a good fight.
It's a good name, a good test.
Alvarez gets his head knocked off. It's fun.
I mean, there's no way. I think we all agree. There's no way that Eddie Alvarez doesn't end up in the UFC at this point.
No,
I mean,
there's also no way that Eddie Alvarez gets punched in the head in his first UFC fight because he gets punched in the head every single fight he's in.
I mean, the only other place that Eddie Alvarez ends up, and obviously you guys are going to laugh at me, is World Series of Fighting. Those dudes are just throwing money around. Like
World Series of Fighting won't be around this time next year.
I'm just saying, like, dude, they're throwing around so much money, like retarded.
Dude, just like the American Fight League, the AFL, and its stunning success with Bobby Lashley.
What was the one that signed Tara LaRosa to like
it was the AFL. It was the
and
AFL.
they never had a card.
They never had a card.
The American Fight League. That's correct.
And they never had a card.
Nope.
Incredible.
I think they gave Bobby Lashley like a signing bonus and then just never used him.
Dude, no, it wasn't. Didn't use him. They didn't use their promotion.
No, they didn't use anybody. They did not utilize fighters to do things, but they gave them money. So hooray for propping up the sport.
But before we get going, getting back to Alvarez for a second, what's his ceiling in the UFC? Because I think
when my father graduated high school in Jamaica, West Indies.
What the hell is this? Did anyone else hear that?
Yeah, it was something about a high school in Jamaica. Probably Obama went there and he shouldn't be elected.
Thank you, Erica.
There's a nice Romney ad just threaded in there.
I want to finish that thought. I've been a huge Eddie Alvarez fan for a long time. I think he's got a ton of skill. He's one of the most exciting fighters to watch. But I think that chin, it's just it's something that he can get over when he's fighting in Bellator and in Japan. But against the top 5 to 10 guys in the UFC, it's going to be a liability for him.
Like I said, it's not so much the quality of his chin, because obviously he can take a shot. It's the fact that in every single fight he just gets clocked at least once, and you can't do that in the UFC.
I would say that he'll end up being top 15.
So maybe a Jim Miller-ish kind of guy. Like a Jim Miller hops up and then gets beaten down, then hops up and gets beaten down.
I'll say that he's probably going to be like a Gillard or like a Matt Wyman.
Well, hey, Matt Wyman's a rising star, asshole. Don't fucking put Matt Wyman in that category. He hasn't lost enough fights where you can say he's hit his ceiling.
Okay, then he's like, I would like to see him against Gillard and
Jim Miller. I like Jim Miller as a
Jim Miller, like fucking Joe Lozon. Anthony Pettis. Anthony Pettis, I also don't think should be in the top 10, but that's a whole different debate, man. Like,
that win against Benson Henderson does look better as time goes on, but he's been inactive for a while, and we'll really see. I mean, him versus Cerrone is going to get a title shot. So
the great thing about 155 though is that you really could put Eddie against any number of guys in that division. It's going to be a great fight. The last thing I want to say about Eddie though, I honestly think he's got the skills, he's got the power, especially that if he runs hot in a few fights. He could be fighting for a title in the UFC in a year or two. Like he's got that much skill offensively that as long as he gets off first, or if he's the one that, if somehow he can protect his chin in a couple fights, he's that good. I think that he could.
That's the thing. It's about matching him up, because I think if he comes in and his first fight is against Gillard or even like a Dennis Seaver, then it might not work out too well for him.
Seaver's even a guy like 145.
You are correct. Seaver did drop down, so I got you last week on fucking Frankie, and you got me this week on him. Fine.
I think your boy Cerrone could give Eddie a bunch of problems.
Cerrone would murder Eddie.
Yes, Cerrone would have no problems with Eddie Alvarez. He'd be picking that chin off before Eddie could touch him.
I don't know about murdering him, but I think
he would murder him. He would murder him.
He'd ride him like a PBR bull.
Eric, let's hear that closing music. Boys, whatever you want to say on the way out here.
I wasn't done talking.
Well, you're done now, son.
I wasn't done. I want my full 90 minutes.
You ain't going to get it.
Bullshit.
Derek?
Matt, come up with more cool links for us to talk about next week. Thanks for listening. I like this chat. And Pat Miletich, November 6th, be here, be square. If we lose, then he's going to rub my nose in it, but we're not going to, so it's going to be fun.
Who's if we? Like, what do you mean we?
Oh, the D's. Me and the D's.
The dicks?
If that's what we're going to fuck shit up.
You guys are dicks.
Fuck the Detroit Tigers. Fuck Detroit, too.
Detroit what? Detroit what?